We're back talking college basketball. That's because it's still March and it's mad. We are entering round 2. Saturday's games coming up. Sunday will be tomorrow. That's when we'll be airing this show. Actually, we're going to be recording it on Saturday night. We're recording this one on Friday night, as we mentioned earlier today. So we already, of course, have the lines and everything set for round 2 action, Jim, tomorrow. Not all of the games are over with for Friday. A majority of them are. And have any of the games over the last couple of days have they gotten you ready at all for round 2 in any way?
Well, I made a couple observations. One I mentioned to you a minute ago. I think the portal is going to pretty much damage or even destroy the mid-majors. It's pretty obvious what's happening. And the powers to be need to stop all this transferring while these games are going on. Like, for example, you can't have coaches leaving teams in the middle of the damn tournament. You know when they leave, a lot of them are going to take some players with them, and they're going to go to the new school. And then that roughs that up too, because now you got players over there that have roster situations and scholarships, and now that all comes into question. It's a mess, and the idiots that are running the show are idiots. I'm sorry, but I have to call it a spade a spade. They're idiots.
Yeah, well,
total idiots.
It's about money.
Well, they should. I don't care about the money. Okay, let it be money.
But I know we don't.
At least wait till the goddamn tournament's over before you start doing this shit.
Yep, they're gonna have to. Same thing in college football. So it's they'll fix it. It's just gonna take a while, and they're slow. They're too slow, and I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that many of these big wigs that run these universities, they're at a certain point in their careers, in their lives, where they should be retiring. They don't understand what they're dealing with. And you need younger people that can get how these, the way the whole system is changing and how you can keep up with it. So, but it's not going to happen. That's why it's not going to happen anytime fast. It's going to be a slow process. It's not going to, but hey, what we can do next year though, because pretty much it's over now regarding any opportunity for any great Thursday or Friday big upsets. It's over. And so even if we get an upset over the weekend, well, it's not going to be that big. It'll be an upset, but it's not going to be one of those Thursday, Friday miraculous upsets. That's the thing that we definitely learned this year. And it's something that we'll remember next year, won't we? For the first couple of days.
Well, yeah. And there were some obviously surprising scores. There were some upsets. McNeese moved on. That was the first one. But they beat up on an ACC team, and that's a pretty weak conference, and that's been shown to be pretty weak.
Yeah, look at North Carolina again today.
I mean, and the other thing is, we talked about it. The Ken Palm and all the records showed that Gonzaga had real high power ratings in almost every category. But they didn't show up all the time. But bam, what was that score? 27-3 before Georgia even knew that they were in a game. I mean, holy shit.
Well, that's a game that we have on tap today, and that's what that's actually one of the last games that we're gonna talk about. The first game we're gonna talk about, speaking of McNeese, is McNeese State in their matchup against Purdue.
Yes.
And in this one, it is a 6-point spread for Purdue. And I look, Purdue's vulnerable. We know that. Their win, their first round win was nothing fantastic against High Point. McNeese State, meanwhile, they got the win, as you mentioned, against Clemson. But Clemson their shooting was so awful early on that benefited McNeese State. And what also benefited McNeese State, considering they only shot 21% from 3, McNeese State did, is they had a player by the name of Brandon Murray who averages 7 points a game, and he went off for 21 points. So that's what happens in these one-game situations, and a lot had to fall right for McNeese to win that game, and he barely hung on at the end. And that's kind of the reason why, even though we know they could win this game because Purdue's vulnerable, it's just not like one of these games where I'm like, oh, I just love McNeese State. Oh, they're going to pull it off. They're going to win this game. Can they win it? Yes. It's a 2-1 money line. I think it's worth, maybe starting the day on a parlay and trying to pick up something later, but I'm not like overly excited about it.
Well, I think Purdue is going to face a more athletic team here than they did with High Point. Yep. High Point's a 3-point shooting team. They couldn't hit them, and they don't have the athletes to compete underneath. McNeese has better athletes. And by the way, the McNeese coach is leaving.
Yeah.
To go to North Carolina?
Yeah.
Or North Carolina State, I guess, right?
North Carolina State.
Okay. And I'm going to guess he's going to take a player or two with him.
Probably.
So
if they're eligible. I have no idea what the eligibility is.
I don't know what the eligibility is, but this is the cockamamie shit that's going on in the sport right now. That should not be the case. But in any case, they did go out and win their first game, and I think that's going to give them a lot of confidence. I don't particularly care for Purdue this year. They're not as good as we saw a year ago or the last couple of years. Of course, they lost the big guy and some other people. Painter hasn't done all that well in the second round games. So I'm actually would favor the points here. I like the dog. More athletic. I think they're going to be a tougher matchup for Purdue than they saw with High Point. And McNeese is coming in with a lot of confidence. I think it's going to be a tough game for Purdue.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think they'll have a shot maybe at pulling off the upset, but I don't look at McNeese as a dangerous team in this tournament. They've won 23 of the last 24, so they do have a lot of confidence. And Purdue's they've actually dropped Purdue 6 of the last 10 overall. So we'll see if that'll help McNeese in this one. Okay, so next we've got the Arkansas-St. John's matchup, and that line is up to 6.5, 7 St. John's. And the Johnnies are coming off the blowout second half in their first matchup. They have won 10 straight. They've covered 7 of the last 10. And all 4 of their postseason wins have been by 16 or more points. So they're playing as good as they can play. Even though the last couple of games, the championship game and this first round game, they got off to slow starts. The games were basically they were trailing actually in the Big East game. Here they were barely up. They were trailing early in the game. So they kind of need to get going here a little bit. Arkansas comes in after the win against Kansas. John Calipari gets the win against Bill Self. Arkansas in the win against Kentucky against Kansas, shot just 25% in the three-point line. And get this, Kansas shot 47% in the three-point line, and yet Arkansas won the game.
I guess there's a lot of other factors that go into it.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
But this is a great matchup of two big name coaches, Calipari against Pitino. St. John's, of course, as a 7-point favorite. That's a big number. I mean, you got the Big East team based on the big guys, a real big conference power. But Calipari has a reputation, but John's is better. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on you. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Arkansas, but Arkansas has athletes. All the numbers say it's going to be St. John's. Am I going to lay 7? No. A lot of people don't have the time to do this, but they should. I mean, it's a Saturday game, and in-game betting is where this one goes. Basketball is a game of runs, And what you would hope to see here is Arkansas take off in this game like Johnny's has been doing, take off slow, and Arkansas take off fast. Let Arkansas get like a 13-4 lead early, and the number gets lower than the 7 on Johnny's. That's when you want to bet the Johnnies. See, that's how you bet these games. And this is definitely, for me, an in-game live betting game. And I'm going to look for those runs because that will happen. And eventually, St. John's defense is going to take over this game. Now, I don't know if it's going to be in the first half, the first minute, the last minute, but it's somewhere in the second half. If the game is tight, the Johnnies defense is going to disrupt this Arkansas team because they play defense. And Pitino's a hell of a coach. At this point in their career, and by the way, from what I understand, and I cannot attest to this personally, from what I understand, these two guys don't like each other.
Okay.
And Pitino's going to turn up the gas on this one.
Okay.
If he can blow him out, he will. I'm not saying he will, but I'm going to be a live game betting guy in this game for sure.
St. John's 22-12 against the spread this year.
What time does it kick off or go off tomorrow?
2:40 Eastern time.
Okay, it's 11:40. Okay.
So St. John's 22-12 against the spread. Arkansas 15-17 against the spread. And we'll see how that one goes for St. John's. Meanwhile, let's go to the next one, and that is at 5:15, Michigan and Texas A&M. And Michigan had a really good battle with those UC San Diego, whatever they're called. Are they the Toreros, or is that the San Diego team? What is UC San Diego's name?
Oh, that was a hell of a game. It was tied at 63, and then Michigan wins it by 3 and covers the number.
The Tritons, Tritons.
Tritons. It's the Tritons. Yeah.
That was a heck of a game. Looked like Michigan. They had a big lead at half. San Diego came back, took the lead, but then Michigan. They're a confident bunch right now, Michigan, and it's funny how it can happen in a season like this because if you look at it, they started the season with they started the season strong. They had a nice record. And then they had that losing streak where they lost 3 straight. It's the most they've lost all year. They had not lost 3 straight until the last 3 games of the regular season. Then, so everybody's thinking, Michigan's in trouble. Not only are they losing 3 straight, but they're getting blown out. Look at that. They got blown out by Michigan State, as you can see there, by 17. They got blown out by Illinois at home by 20. And that's how they ended the regular season. But then they go in the tournament. They beat Purdue by 20. They get the last second shot against Maryland. They beat Wisconsin as a dog, winning all 3 of these tournament games as dogs. And then with San Diego, where a lot of people were thinking that San Diego could win that game, and deservedly so. A lot of people picking them.
And they almost did.
Yeah, Michigan responded and got it done. So, yeah, they're a confident bunch right now, which is why I'm going to pick them in this game. Texas A&M had a good win against Yale, but the thing I was bothered about that win was, if you look at it, they had a player as well that just completely broke out. He averaged 9 points a game, this kid Payne. He had 25 points in the game. They only shot 24% from the three-point line, and they only shot 57% from the free throw line. And they were still able to get by Yale. They're not getting by Michigan with those numbers. And then throw in the fact that here's another one from Mark's newsletter. There's a link in the description for the March Madness newsletter. Michigan has won 7 straight round 2 tournament games. I think they'll make it 8 straight.
Well, I can ask you, what's the number on it? Because I could
2.5.
2.5. And they're who's favored? A&M.
A&M.
Yeah. Why are they favored?
Well, A&M was ranked.
That's the point I was going to make on this. Why are they favored? I don't understand why they're favored.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think that if this was before, I remember, because Michigan was pretty highly ranked most of the season until that, I believe, until that 3-game losing streak.
I got 7 power ratings. Not one of them says A&M should be favored. Not one.
Wow.
Not one.
Well, it's SEC against Big Ten.
Is there an injury?
SEC.
I mean,
you know what they think about the SEC?
Well, yeah, well.
Now, there is a trend in Mark's newsletter that goes against Michigan in this one. So, knowing Mark, I would venture to say that if you ask him who he was betting in this game, he probably is going with Texas A&M, because it says here that 5-seed dogs in round 2 are just 3-12 against the spread the last 14 years. And on the flip side, a 4-seed who's favored by 5 or less in round 2 is 10-2 against the spread in the last 7 years.
Okay.
So all of that would say in Mark's newsletter to take Texas A&M. But other than that, there are a few other things that do work against Texas A&M. Either way, again, Michigan's the hotter team. Texas A&M is just 3-5 straight up and against the spread in their last 8 games. And this is two teams that like to.
I gotta say something here. The seeding is screwed up. I mean, first of all, Gonzaga should not have been.
Gonzaga's an 8 seed.
Okay.
How do you think Houston feels?
Well, here's my saying. I got a 90 power rating on Michigan, an 81 power rating on A&M. I've got a team with 26 wins and 9 losses to a team with 22-10. That's all Michigan favored, right? Why are they a 5 and A&M is a 4? Tell me. And so none of this makes any sense.
Well, let's take advantage of that then.
So here's what I'm saying. We're looking at the seeding and saying, oh, the seeding is sacrosanct. It's perfect. Everybody
like the Colorado State game.
Yeah, and 12 was favored over a 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is the boneheads that make all these rules are doing the seeding as well, and they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, a lot of times they do put these teams in certain situations on purpose. The matchups, they want the big games.
They can't be that smart.
No, I said in some circumstances. Like they'll put, hey, having Bill Self, Calipari, Patino in the same little tiny middle bracket. Come on. I mean, that wasn't thought up.
That was no accident, of course.
No. So, and by the way, this line now has gone up. It's 3.5 now.
Definitely a Michigan play, without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree, obviously, with that one.
Without a doubt.
All right. Now, let's go with, finally, we have an upset team to talk about. We have a Cinderella after one day. We have a couple of them left. Not many. One is Drake. They're getting 7 from Texas Tech. And Drake did it again. All they do is win. They're 31-3. And they proved that they don't have to just beat teams from the Missouri Valley. They've beaten Kansas State. They've beaten Vandy. And now they beat Mizzou. And they won that game from the beginning to the end. Never in doubt. They win by 10. And keep in mind, because this has not come back to kill them yet, but Drake is one of the poor free throw shooting teams in the country. And once again, they shot just 50% in the game, 12-24, and they still won by 10.
What's the line?
It's 7.5. Texas Tech.
Here's an example where, Texas Tech, Texas A&M. We just talked about 2 Texas teams.
Yep.
Texas Tech is 11 points better on the power ratings.
Yes, Texas Tech is better than Texas A&M. Yes.
Okay. And now they did have a player out the other day. I'm talking about Tech. Drake played well. They come back, they win that game, but they do not figure to win this game.
Yeah, it's tough to do it back to back. Yeah.
Well, it's also the power ratings all say they should lose by more than 7. So I'm not going to play them.
Yeah, Texas Tech is a good team. They're a good 3-point shooting team, but Drake is a good 3-point defensive team. They held Missouri to 25% shooting to 3. That's how Drake will be able to win this game. They've got to keep that stat in line. And here's another one from the newsletter. No, actually, this is not from the newsletter. This is from me doing some research.
Okay.
Texas Tech is 0-3 against the spread in the postseason this year. All right, so there you go. Drake.
I'm just going to pass that game.
Pass on the game. Okay, I'll take Drake. That they've got something going on here. I like Texas Tech. I think they're a dangerous sleeper team.
Texas Tech. A lot of people are picking Texas Tech for the Final Four, so I'm going to stay away from it.
Yeah, that's a good team. All right, next up, let's go to Creighton and Auburn. Number 1 Auburn against the 9th seeded Creighton Blue Jays, and in this one, Auburn, of course, they had an easy go of it. Creighton beat Louisville, beat one of those bad ACC teams. They beat them by 14, and they actually shot 46% from 3. So they had a good shooting day. This is a good, a solid, team as far as they've got 3 really good scorers. So, this is a veteran team, well coached. Auburn, we know how good they are. Keeping in mind, they're just 2-3 straight up, 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games. And on top of that, here's another one from the newsletter. The SEC in round 2 games as a favorite of 3 or more, and there's several circumstances of this on this day. By the way, Texas A&M moved up to 3.5, so against Michigan, they're one of them. The SEC in round 2 favorite of 3 or more, just 5-14 against the spread.
And you're looking at a 9.5 or 10-point spread here. I can't lay that. Auburn is flattened out.
Yeah.
They are not playing to the level that they were. Yes, they've been the number 1 team all year and number 1 seed and all that stuff, but they are not playing to the peak level. And they were a good coach. I'm not going to knock that. But Creighton as well. They're well coached as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to give me double digits? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and also the one thing that we just talked about, the way the system is, and that maybe these round 1 games are not going to be fun anymore. But if that happens, and that's the case, what that will probably mean, I guess we'll find out this weekend, is that these teams that are moving on are all the better teams now. And now maybe the first weekend games will be where we'll get some upsets. Very possible. Because Creighton, they're not like a mid-major that doesn't have the ammo. Creighton's got ammo. Teams like Creighton, they have ammo. They can come at you. They got good players that can match up with teams like Auburn. I'm not saying they're winning the game. I'm just saying that I think let's see how this weekend goes. Maybe this is when we'll see the upsets over the weekend. So we'll see.
Well, we've seen some, but we just haven't seen what we expected. And I credit that.
You don't have that one shining moment yet.
I credit that to the portal. I think the better
absolutely. Absolutely.
Better players are moving on. I mean, what was the name of the player that moved on from Yale?
Yeah, he went to Michigan.
Yeah,
Wolf.
Of course. Now, if
he's on Yale,
if he'd have stayed at Yale, how much tougher would Yale have been?
Absolutely. Maybe they'd be a Sweet 16 team. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
And
That's
Michigan,
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep. So that's the thing. All right, BYU, Wisconsin. So our BYU boys came through against VCU in flying colors. And when we talked about that, the one thing that the reason why I felt confident after all was I said Atlantic 10 just wasn't very good this year. And BYU sure has been battle tested all season, especially down the stretch. They have now won 10 of 11, covered 9 of 11. They picked up where they left off before the loss to Houston. So as long as you don't have to worry about Houston or teams that are really good, three-point shooting tems, teams that are really good three-point shooting teams like Houston, and that was just a bad matchup. But the fact is, this is a 1-point spread for Wisconsin. They're the 3 seed against the 6 seed. Wisconsin has won 6 out of 10, just 5-5 in those 10 against the spread, and includes a 19-point win against Montana to kick off the tournament.
Well, they got into a bad situation in the championship game against Michigan where they were playing 4 games in 4 nights, and their legs were dead. And they shot, I don't have the numbers, but I think it was like 6 for 39 from 3-point land, and that just absolutely destroyed them. And they still barely. They could have. I mean, they almost won it anyway.
Yeah, good team.
But this Wisconsin team is damn good. This is no fluke. They are good, and BYU looks damn good too. So this is a really tough game. Now, what do we like about the total in this game? Let's take a look at that.
Okay.
What's the total?
The total is 155.5.
Well,
why are you bringing up the total?
Well, because that might be the play.
Okay.
That just might be the play. If you look at Wisconsin's last bunch of games, 74, 75, 70, 86, 77, 53, the game they lost to Michigan, and 85 against Montana, these are some high scores by them. And then you look at the other side, you go back a little bit, 91, 77, 88, 85, 96, a 54 against Houston, and then 80 against Commonwealth. These are both teams. What's the total?
155.
So you're looking for 2 teams to basically score close to 80 points, and they're very capable of doing that. And they both can. What's the stats on Brigham Young from distance, 3-point shooting?
Let's see if they're a good 3-point shooting team. Let's see. They're a good 3-point shooting team. They're in the top 40 in the nation.
And Wisconsin?
No, they're just an average.
Yeah, but they started off their tournament, that one game, they were like 19-34 from 3. They went crazy.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything in their first game though. The one against Montana, they didn't shoot lights out or anything.
Okay, Wisconsin was 20 out of 36 over. BYU was 20 out of 34 over on the season. So both favor overs.
Okay, is that where you're going?
Well, I can't. I really don't have anything that says why I should pick a side.
Okay.
So I would lean to the over here.
Over 155.5. Got it. All right. And there's 2 more to go. And here's a big one. The biggest one yet. Gonzaga and Houston.
Oh,
Saturday night, 8:40. Houston is a 5-point favorite. The total is 139.5. 1 seed against the 8 seed. Mark Few has never beaten a number 1 seed in the tournament. Gonzaga, though, has won 9 straight round 2 games. And you have, as far as matchups, you have a Gonzaga good 3-point shooting defensive team against the 4th best 3-point shooting team in the country. And when you take a look at Houston's losses this year, in all those games, they did not, I don't think in any of those games they shot over 40% from three. So I think they were held below their average in all 4 of those games. That's how you got to beat Houston, because they're so well coached, disciplined, defense, all of that. So you can't allow them to shoot those threes. Now, here is a big trend from the newsletter. Number 1 seeds in the round of 2 off of 3 straight up and against the spread wins are just 2-17 against the spread.
Wow.
Now I like the number as it is. It's 5.5. I can get 6 in this game. So much so because this is clearly a team that could win the game. As good as Houston is, Gonzaga can beat Houston. Nobody would be shocked.
Gonzaga can beat the numbers that you see on Gonzaga when they're playing well are astronomical.
Yeah.
That's how, I mean, it's really unbelievable.
And you're getting almost 2-1 on the money line.
But I really, they can throw in a clunker here and there. I'm going to go a different way. I'm not going to pick a side. I'm going to look at this game and say, this is going to be a game like Gonzaga plays against St. Mary's.
Well, they don't want to hear that.
And it's going to be a slow down, grind it, Houston-style game. What's the total?
139.
Ooh, that's low. That is a low total.
Yeah.
That is a low total. There's no bargain with that number. 139.
Houston's got, what's he, 4 out of 5, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 9 they've been under.
Oh, they're an under team, but this other team is not. However, in every game they played against St. Mary's, they went under. Every one.
What were the numbers?
Well, there was 100. The total was the last game was 109. The time before that, I'm talking about what they scored. The total, the one before
109.
109 was the score. 58-51.
Wow.
The time before it was 141, and the time before that it was 120. They went under each time, under the posted total.
Oh, the 109 was in the tournament?
No, that was the final of their
tournament.
Yeah.
That game was St. Mary's had that player that was one of their top 2 players. I forget what it was. I think it was foul trouble in the game or he scored like hardly any points. It was something that just eliminated him from the game. And you could tell St. Mary's, trying to beat Gonzaga 3 times in the same season wasn't going to happen.
I don't know what, I'm going to have to look around and see what kind of totals. This might be a live betting game for me, but I like it under. I'm a little afraid of a total being in the 30s, but I like it under. I think this is going to be a grinder. Tremendous athletes, tremendous coaching. The style is there, and it's easier to slow a team down than it is to speed one up. And I like it under.
Well, let's see. Early in the season, because don't forget, Gonzaga played a lot of big-time teams, so or solid teams.
Yeah, but I'm talking about style.
Trying to see if
you got to look at the slow down teams. Like Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They're terrible.
Well, Houston played them.
Okay.
I don't see that Gonzaga played any team that has that slow down style until they until they played. Well, UCLA is a pretty good defensive ball club. But then when they played, they went under with three. The biggest under team they played 3 times. They went under every time.
All right. Anyway, this should be a good game, and so much so that even though I did that Florida Houston championship,
that's what I got too,
line at 11-1, I decided to hedge my bet, and I did Florida Gonzaga as well.
Okay.
Because, by the way, that was 50-1. So I said, hey, why not? Just because if Gonzaga beats Houston, we know they can make it all the way to the Final Four.
Well, if they beat Houston, they're going to be favored to be in the final matchup. Sure.
Yeah. So then in that situation, I think that's a good hedge.
All right. I think you might have something. This is the one team that Houston might have a trouble beating.
Yep. Okay. Last one, UCLA and Tennessee. Our buddy coach.
This is
the Volunteers.
This is easy.
And this spread is 5.5, 131. That's a low number total. You've got a UCLA team 19-13 against the spread. Tennessee's 500. UCLA has won 6 straight round 2 tournament games. They're 12-4 straight up in their last 16. 9-3-1 against the spread in their last 13. That includes a 25-point win over Utah State, who shot 13% from 3, 4 for 31. Tennessee, meanwhile, 8-3 straight up last 11, but 3-8 against the spread in those 11. And that includes a 15-point win against Wofford, who shot 42% from 3, covering the game against Tennessee. And don't forget that SEC spread trend that counts in this one as well. SEC 5-14 against the spread in round 2 as favorites of 3 or more. I'm taking the Bruins in the 6.
I'm with you. That's you got Cronin, you got Barnes.
Now, who's a better coach?
Cronin? You got coaches, but
no, who's a better coach? Cronin or
history-wise,
tournament-wise,
they're both very, very, very good. They're very
but in the tournament, though. But in the tournament,
who's more likely to win the championship?
Yes,
it's Cronin.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Let's just recap. So you're going to go with. We're taking McNeese in the 6.
Yep.
Actually, let me make sure what those lines are. They could have changed.
Well, there's a lot of numbers out there. I mean,
it's 6. Okay.
You can shop.
You're staying away from the Arkansas St. John's game. You're going to do live betting in that game.
Correct.
Okay. Michigan, we're both taking Michigan getting 4.
I do live betting on every game, though. So but that one I'm going to focus on.
Okay. Well, now the spread's dipped back to 2.5, so that keeps bouncing around. But anyway, Drake, you're staying away from that one. Drake is getting 7.5 from Texas Tech. Now it's 7.
I don't feel comfortable with somebody that doesn't hit their free throws, and they're not a deep team. It's a tough spot.
It's a lot of points for a team that likes to slow it down, though.
It is.
That's why I'm taking Drake in the points in that one. The interesting thing is last year's team on paper was better than this year's team. They had that DeVries kid who was the one who went to West Virginia with his dad and then gets hurt. And that's the one we were talking about a few days ago when the committee said, well, that guy got hurt, so he's not around. That was the kid, DeVries. He went to West Virginia, got hurt.
And now the dad's gone too.
And that's another situation that you were just talking about with the Yale kid. Same thing. Because Tucker DeVries, imagine how Drake would be this year with Tucker DeVries on the team.
Right.
So if he was healthy. Anyway. Okay. Next. Creighton. I'm taking you're staying away from that one?
No, I'm on Creighton.
Okay. So that one I believe is that 9.5. Let me see. Nope, 9. So we're both getting 9 from Auburn. You're staying away from BYU whiskey except for the total.
Officially, I will be buying. I have 9.5. So I'm buying a 10 there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go with 155.5 over in the BYU Wisconsin matchup.
Correct.
And I'm going to keep riding BYU. And then Gonzaga. That's the one where you said you're staying away from that one?
The Gonzaga Houston game, I'm going to shop for numbers, and I'm going to try to get under 40 or 141 if I can. I'm going to play it under.
Okay. And what did we say the number was?
You said 139.
Okay, because right now it's 140.
Well, then I'd play it under. Yeah.
So Gonzaga under 140. And then UCLA, we're both taking the Bruins plus the 5.
Yes.
Or 6, whatever it was.
Hopefully 6.
5.5 to 6. Okay, so there you go. That's what's going on for Saturday, round 2 action. We're going to be back again tomorrow night for more round 2 action for Sunday's games. And then don't forget to tune in live on Monday night. We'll try to let you know tomorrow when that's going to be, but that's why you want to subscribe to the channel this way, in case you don't know when a show is going to be live, because sometimes we might just go live and we didn't even think about it. So that's why you want to subscribe, like, share. All that stuff is also obviously very cool and very important, but subscribing, that's the ticket. Doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's forever free. It helps to support the channel. And like I said, to make sure that you never miss one of our shows. Jim, appreciate your time as always. And
see you tomorrow night.
Have a great Friday night. And I'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, you too. Bye, everybody.